Hello there, beautiful teachers, and welcome to another Vibrant Music Teacher Chat. This is your weekly show on YouTube where you get to find out the latest goings on in the music teaching industry, connect with other fabulous music teachers like yourself, and dive into a special topic each week. This week we're talking about transfer students, and we're going to be looking at the positives of taking on transfer students because so often we can get really bogged down in all of the frustrations because it is difficult to do. But today we're going to be looking at the sunny side, so I'm really looking forward to that. If you haven't met me though, let me say hello. My name is Nicola Canton. I run a site called Vibrant Music Teaching and a blog called Colourful Keys, and that's colourful with two U's because I'm from Dublin, Ireland. So we use the extra U in our colour over here. Whether you're joining from Ireland or from anywhere around the world, you are incredibly welcome here. This is one of the most supportive places you will find for music teachers online. So don't hesitate to chime into the chat. Let us know how you're doing today. Ask questions if anything is confusing or you miss something that I say. We are happy to help clarify and go on little side streets with you if you've got some ambles you want us to take and things you want us to help out with. So yeah, it's going to be a fabulous show today talking about transfer students. Before we get to that, we're going to dive into the latest news and updates. So lots of fun things going on around here as I get settled into a new year in the studio. I would love to hear how your new year is going if you're also getting started. Some people in Ireland started this week, some people like me started 2 weeks ago, and some people in the US I know started back in August. So you're like well into the year. You're already looking forward to getting next summer. Getting to next summer, right? But let me know how it's going for you. We are going into our third week now, right? So tomorrow will be the start of my third week. Don't teach on Mondays. And this week was so much easier. And I know it. It's one of those things that it does come with experience, right? Like many things in life. But the more times you do it, you do get to tell yourself, okay, I know the first week is super draining and I know it will feel better next week. But it's kind of like exercise. You know, you go into like exercise, whatever it is, you're going for a swim and you love swimming and you know that. You know that when you finish swimming and even during swimming, you love it. But you're so reluctant to go. And when you're in that before state, you're like, oh, but do I really? And the first week of teaching is kind of like that, isn't it? Does anyone else get that vibe? It's like, oh, but does it really get better? Is it really less exhausting? But it is. Last week was perfect. I'm really happy with my new schedule. I think it worked out really well, which is a relief because this year was super complicated to work out. Like, it was the biggest challenge yet. And yeah, 70 students is no joke, folks, to get them all settled in to their perfect time slot, especially when some are at home and some are here and buddy lessons and everything, right? Breathe a sigh of relief when it all fits into place, and at least for now everyone's happy and they have their spot and it's all flowing and all the teachers, including myself, have adequate breaks in their day and everything. So we're looking all good. Other than that, this week, well, one thing happened today which was fun. I wanted to show you guys. This came today. This was a sample. So we have studio t-shirts. Oh, I should have pulled out one of our old ones to show you, but some of you will have seen our green ones that we have in the studio, and they say, I play piano, what's your superpower? And they're like green. It's actually called Kelly green, so it's like a really Irish green. But it is also our studio color here. Anyway, so we have those ones, and I've just about run out of most sizes now. I'm still like dripping out those, as I think it's ages 3 to 4 of a few left, and 12 to 13 or something like that. So I need a new batch. And I've decided to go yellow this time, and I came up with a new slogan. So I'm going to show you guys. This is not the final version, but this is the test version that came today. Hopefully that was enough time to read it, was it? So I have adjusted it. It's going to be hard to show. I'll hold it like this to show you. I've adjusted it to make it wider because I feel it's a bit too narrow on the t-shirt. And so I've changed the shape and there's like a rainbow on it. I'll show you the final version when it comes. But I'm really excited because we put through the order. We're going to have new ones. I'm going to give them out to all students pretty much, unless they just got a green one. But even students who've been with us for a while, this will be their updated one, and like they will have changed sizes. Although some students who have been with me for years still wear their green one, and it tends to come out on Paddy's Day because it's their green item of clothing. So I thought about doing green again, but I've decided to go yellow. Anyway, so that came today, which was fun for me. The other thing that arrived today, though, on the VMT site is the Creative Kickstart course. Have any of you seen it yet? This one would be great for transfer students. It's actually designed for teen and adult beginners, but I think it's a great way to get started with transfer students as well. So yeah, I think it's a really fun way to get going. It's designed to be roughly the first month of lessons. Definitely could be stretched out. So if you got going with an adult and you were thinking, we're not ready to like choose books and go on a more definite path after the first month, I think it could last 8 weeks really, for the average paced student, right? So the Kickstart is in the course library right now. You can check it out. And we're also using the first one of those pieces in our Rote Rockstar challenge. So if you're not a member and you want a flavour for one of the rote pieces, although that's not all there is to the course, there's a lot more going on in there, but one of the elements is rote pieces, and if you want to get a flavour for that, you can join the Rote Rockstar challenge by musicteaching.com/rockstar, I think. Do I have that up? I don't have it saved here, I don't think. Anyway, no. So if you're in music, so just if you're signed up to emails, check the second email I sent you. That has the correct link, and it's a fun little rote piece. It'll give you a flavour of that. Oh, that's great, Lydia. That's awesome to hear. That this might really help you with rote teaching. It's a wonderful thing, but I was definitely nervous to start with it as well. It's not something that comes intuitively, and it can be a bit daunting at first. So that's why I wanted to do this challenge. Really happy that it's hit on a need for you. Other things going on around here. So we have a new podcast out, how to smoothly switch piano methods midstream. So this is a question we get a lot around transfer students. We wanted to address it. It's about your student is in such and such a method. Maybe they're transfer, maybe it's just your student, but they're in such and such a method and it's just not working, or you hate those books. And you know you're not going to teach them with enthusiasm, right? There's a lot of stuff we can do to adapt a method book. We don't have to be stuck to it just because we're using it. But at the same time, it's not worth hampering your teaching with a bad book. The tiny saving that a parent makes if parents are paying for books. I know teachers are often reluctant, right? We don't want to impose any extra costs on parents, and I get that, and that's fair. But at the same time, spending €10, $10, $8, whatever it is, for a new method book is obviously worth it in the scheme of what they're paying for lessons, if that's going to help you be a more effective teacher. And if you're someone like me who has a materials fee, you just take back the other book and give them a new book, or just give them a new book on top of it or whatever. So it's not a big deal. Anyway, this is about how you actually make that transition, like how do you choose a level and how do you approach that with a student. So I hope that's useful for those who have that question on their mind. And then we had, the Rote Rockstar Challenge is going on. And then I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the birthday before we get into our main topic. So we have the birthday at this time next week on YouTube. That is going to be the after party. The main mixer party where you get to connect with other teachers and play games in real time. You will be on video. It's like a Zoom call, but not at all like a Zoom call, but it's like it in terms of you come on camera and we can hear you and whatever, and you're actually talking to people. It's not recorded or anything like that, so don't worry. Anyway, so that is an hour and a half before this live show. If you're subscribed to emails, you're going to get an email from me tomorrow with the full details and how you join. If you're a VMT member, you can already see it in the calendar, and it's really handy in there because you can get the direct links and you can see it in your time zone. That's the other benefit. Yeah. So I think that's a useful way to look at it. If you remember, just go to the calendar. And I'm really looking forward to the session on wonder. I know it sounds a bit like, oh, I've never heard of this thing and new technology and stuff, and people can be a bit cautious, but I've used it for several events. If you went to NCKP, you actually experienced it. You didn't know you did, but you did. And there's a lot of scope for using it in different ways. So I have a video here on the channel. It'll go live just after this, so you'll see it, about how to use it, like the basics if you want to get ahead. Not that you need to, it's not difficult, but if you just want to get a sense of what am I going into here. But we're going to meet there, we'll buddy up and get in groups and play games together, have specific topics for discussion, and there will be prizes throughout the whole session, like spot prizes just randomly. So you're going to want to show up. There's fun prizes. Now the YouTube show, here's the secret. I'm not telling anyone else this, so this is a secret just for you, because you're watching this week. If you come next week for the birthday bash version, I am going to have a special guest here. I have confirmed my special guest. Anyone want to guess who it is, actually? Have a guess who my special guest is. I kind of might have 2 or 1.5, if we want to say it that way. I don't think it's fair to say that's a half, but that might give you a hint. So we are going to play games, and I'm going to give out more prizes on the YouTube show as well, and it's going to be very much open as well if you want to ask random questions. Like, it's going to be an Ask Me Anything type session as well, so you can just take us in new directions. Oh, good guess, Angie. It is not going to be Samantha Coates, because this time, our live show, it is what there? Like 3 a.m. or so? I don't know. I can't do that calculation on the fly, but it's the middle of the night, so no, since we're keeping it at the regular time. But that reminds me that we do have a really fun session with Samantha Coates coming up next week as well. So that was going to be my next point. So that is a masterclass. It is with Samantha Coates and me. There's the link. vibrantmusicteaching.com/bike. What a mysterious link. Well, it's going to be as fun as it sounds. It's going to be as zany as it sounds. And it's me and Samantha Coates. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be so much fun. That is next Wednesday. So it's going to be a few days after the birthday, but it is in morning my time. So it's early morning in the US, and it's an Aussie friendly time, New Zealand, Asia friendly. Might suit those of you over there, also suit us Europeans very well. And of course there will be a replay available for free, so you're welcome to watch it on the replay. Just sign up anyway so that you get the links and everything and all the details. But I don't see any other guesses. Do I need to give you a clue as to who's coming on the show next week? What should be my other clue? Okay, my other clue is that this person is not a piano teacher. And the potentially half a person, I only called a half a person because they are not human. But that doesn't make them half a person. The ghost of Clara Schumann. That's hilarious. No, Angie, it's not the ghost of Clara Schumann. I'll give you one more clue. This person is going to be able to stand right here. So considering, COVID and lockdown rules, who do you think is able to stand right here that is not a piano teacher? Oh, Steve. Steve is definitely going to be there, but he's, like 3 people. I didn't count him. Gary! Ding, ding, ding! You did it. Yes, my husband is coming along. He's been working on VMT, in VMT things behind the scenes, but he's never usually on the front end. And I asked him if he would come on and play some games with us. So, yeah, he is going to be coming on the show and playing some games. Should be fun. He'll possibly just sit over there and eat some cake, to be honest. He will come talk to you. He's not standoffish, but then he'll say, my job's done. and he'll sit down and eat some cake. But the half a person that we might be able to bring on is my dog, Tofu. Because it just depends on how barky he is, because I don't want him screaming at you. But, you know, he should be pretty chill, so hopefully I'll be able to pick him up and have him say hello to you too. Should be super fun. So we've got game participants. We'll see if we can come up with a game that Tofu can play. I'll have to get out some peanut butter to motivate him. Okay, so that's next week. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you'll come to the Wonder session as well as this YouTube Live if you can make it an hour and a half earlier, because that really is going to be something special. And lots of prizes to make it worth your while. Okay, here we go. Here's our main topic. Transfer students can be a struggle. Am I right? You don't know what they know and what they don't know. You don't know what they were taught versus what they've forgotten. And you spend a lot of your time piecing together what level they're at and where they want to go. It can be really a difficult time when they're transitioning over to you. But it's not all bad. And I love taking on transfer students. But all we tend to see in teacher discussions, in community posts, is, oh, I took on this transfer student and he has no idea what his finger numbers are. Oh my God, what am I going to do with him? So we wanted to dive into some of the sunnier side aspects. Let's think about the ways that transfer students can benefit our studio. Let's think about the things that they bring and the wonderful, wonderful aspects of taking on students who learned from another teacher before you. Whether there was a big break there, or whether they're transferring over directly, whether they've been studying with them for 1 year or 1 month or 10 years. Let's think about some of the benefits. I would love to hear your ideas of the wonderful aspects of transfer students in your studio, and whether you already love taking them on in the comments. My first bonus or benefit is fresh air. I think transfer students give us this wonderful opportunity to breathe a fresh air into their whole system. And if you see yourself as having the opportunity to bring that to them, it can change your whole perspective. So perhaps that student didn't improvise with their previous teacher, or they didn't compose together, or they didn't explore how to practice, or they weren't allowed to learn music of other genres. Now, not every transfer student will have these aspects, but there's usually something that you do differently to the previous teacher. Maybe the previous teacher didn't do recitals, or they did tons of recitals and yours are a totally different vibe. Or they didn't do group lessons and you offer those once a month. By focusing on what you get to offer this student that is going to breathe fresh inspiration into their music life, you get to really enjoy taking on that transfer student. Next one is light bulbs. You know, as part of emailing teachers and teachers signing up for emails from us, we ask them, what is your teaching frustration right now, and what do you love about teaching right now? And the most common answer to frustration is obviously practice, but the most common answer to what they love about teaching is the light bulb moments. It's getting to see when that student just gets it and it all clicks into place, whatever it all is, note names or intervals or improvisation or key signatures or something, it clicks. Well, with transfer students, you get so many more of those light bulb moments, because just by virtue of being a different person, even if the old teacher was great and you're also great, you're different. And so you're going to explain things and teach things and experience things together in different ways than they did before, which can be just what they need to get something that they never got before. So you get to experience so many times when, oh, that new connection is made in your student's brain. And that's a wonderful thing. Tell me if light bulb moments are one of your favorite aspects and whether you have more of them with transfer students, because I certainly do. The next one is mindset. You get to introduce a new mindset to your transfer students. You get to bring something different to how they think about music. Maybe the old teacher was very focused on exams or on performances and you're not. Or maybe you specialize in making performances more enjoyable or expressive or improving performance anxiety. There are many ways that you think about music that another person does not think about music. And again, it's not about the other teacher did it wrong and you're going to do it right. It's about a different perspective, and you get to introduce that to the student. You get to show them how they can think about music differently. Maybe you introduce the idea of a growth mindset to them through our Gritty Critters series from the games from VMT. Or something else. What mindset do you think that you bring to students? The next one is puzzles. What? I think transfer students are a great opportunity for you as a teacher to puzzle through a puzzle. When we don't work with students from the beginning, we have to try and unpick and unpack what it is that's going on with them and where the disconnect is or which pieces they have and which they don't have. And we can see that as a struggle or we can see it as a puzzle. It's a great challenge for you as a teacher. It'll keep your mind engaged. It will make you think differently about things that you teach. Does anyone else enjoy a good puzzle? I know I do, and transfer students provide great ones sometimes. So rather than getting frustrated, try to think of it as an opportunity to get into the logic brain in your mind and unpick the puzzle. And then finally, transfer students can teach you. We don't all have all the answers, and if you keep your eyes open when you're working with that transfer student, if you keep your eyes open and your ears open, you will discover something new from them. A way that their old teacher taught something, or a way that this particular student thinks about something because of the way their teacher taught them, that gives you new insight. Sometimes it will reaffirm why you do something the way that you do in a new way, but sometimes you'll realize they did it better, and you get to try and understand how they did it better. How does this student have such beautiful technique? And you can start to work with them on that and figure it out, and maybe you will gain something for your own teaching. At the very least, you'll understand better why you teach the way you do, and that's always a great thing to learn. Liddy said, I find I grow more as a teacher when starting a transfer student. That is always so true, right? And Eloise always learn from my transfer students as well. There are opportunities there for you to learn. Wonderful opportunities, amazing professional development for you from your students if you take them on. Now, I'm happy to answer questions about your frustrations with transfer students, of course. Just ask your question in the comments and I'll be happy to help you address those. But in the meantime, let's take a moment to think about the positives of transfer students before we start to unpick the puzzles and try and fix things that we need to with them as well. Speaking of questions, it's time to ask me anything. So if anyone has any questions today about anything at all, I'm happy to answer them. Just type the word question followed by your question. It can be about transfer students. It can be about anything and everything in my life or my teaching or my business or your life or your teaching. Is that enough options for you? I hope so. Okay. Oh, Carrie, you got it before I even revealed tofu. Oh my gosh, you were on fire. Seriously. I wish I had a fire button. I should create that. That does like a fireball on the screen. I just have my confetti, so I'll give you that. That was awesome. Okay, and thank you for those of you who said that you like my dog's name. Um, Michelle. His full name is Tofu Brulee, and you will see why when you see him next week. He's like a ball of white, and he looks like a block shape because he's a really unusual shape, and then he has a dark brown caramelized head, so I think he looks like tofu that's made into creme brulee. That's where his name comes from. Just popped into my head when I met him, and it stuck. Question from Angie. What's the best way to thank a fellow teacher who has referred me several students besides the written thank you? Well, first of all, I think it's lovely that you'll write a written thank you. I think that's great, Angie. What's the best way to thank them? Take them out for coffee? Maybe? Have a chat with them? But honestly, I just think the thank you card will be lovely. Maybe it's more standard where you are, but I would be surprised to receive one, and I think that's lovely. You could definitely get them a small something, but I don't think it's really necessary. I think it's one of those cases where the thought really does count. So a lovely thank you card would be, I'm sure, very appreciated. You could maybe even send them, if you have permission, of course, a photo of your new student smiling like with their first book, or if you take those kinds of photos, maybe you could send that to them as a way to say, because of you, like this student is starting music. Could be fun. Lydia, have you used the Faber Piano Adventures version of the Hanon book? If so, what's your opinion? I just discovered it. No, I thought that was going a different direction. I have used Piano Adventures before. The Faber Hanon edition, I don't know anything about it. What's different about it, Lydia? I'm curious. I have not used it. I don't really use Hanon at all, so I probably wouldn't use it or come across it. But I've nothing against Hanon, just like I've nothing against scales if they're taught correctly, but they're not taught as a way to learn technique, because you don't learn anything by doing repetitive exercises. You learn it by applying the technique you already learned to the repetitive exercises, and sometimes that can make the exercises a useful format to get the repetition in, right? But that's kind of my perspective on drills like Hanon or scales, which I do with all my students, but and everything else. Lydia, it breaks the Hanon apart into smaller exercises to easily understand the wrist movement. Okay, I think anything that talks more about what they're actually trying to achieve in terms of the movement in the hand or the wrist or the arm or whatever is always very welcome in my view. One resource I really like because of this is called Technique Trainer, just while we're on the subject of technique. It's by Jackie Sharp, who I believe is Australian. I can't remember where she's from, but she's an Aussie. I think. Anyway, she has that book. It's available as a digital download, and I think I purchased a studio license a long time ago because I have several copies. So I like that because she really describes each movement in a clear way. And it's not like Hanon style exercises, but that's the kind of thing where I would take that with a student, particularly a student who needs extra repetition, and apply it to something like Hanon or, exercises we create together creatively or something like that, that gives them an opportunity to practice the pattern, right? Okay, doesn't look like we've any other questions coming in, so I might wrap it up there, everybody. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your fun and guesses and merriment in the comments. Always great to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week on our birthday bash. It's going to be a slightly longer one than this one right here, so feel free to pop in a bit late, but I'd love to see you here on time if you can make it. And I would love to see you on the Wonder platform before that. Right, I do have a couple of minutes, so I will answer these final questions. Perfect pitch. Any tips for an 11-year-old student with ADHD and dyslexia who can't focus on the music notes on the page? He picks up tunes by ear, but it's difficult to teach note reading, and we are online. Okay, so it depends on what the difficulty is. When it comes to reading difficulties like this, particularly with students with learning challenges, but really with any student, I like to break it down and pinpoint what the issue is, right? So just having a piece of music and them not able to read it doesn't do that. That's why I love games for this kind of thing. The 3 things I'd be checking with this student is, are they not tracking left to right? That would be my number 1. Not every student with ADHD will have this problem, but many will, and many without ADHD also have this problem, where they're scanning the music across, but in the middle, they look somewhere else. And then they come back to the music and they're in the wrong spot, and they're just not following it like we would follow sentences in a book. So tracking is the first thing I would check. Then the intervals is the next thing I would check. And then I would look at translating information into hand movement. So those are the 3 first pitfalls for a student who's struggling with reading. Hopefully that gives you somewhere to start, and I would do games with them so they don't know I'm assessing each of those, just games that address those 3 different aspects to try and figure out where is the problem here. Unimo, how would you approach an adult student whose eyesight isn't good enough to use a book? I ask because after this pandemic, I hope to have lessons with a teacher. I think most teachers, or I'd hope most teachers, would be happy to work with a student like that by using rote work. Another thing to look into, of course, if the student reads in Braille, is Braille music notation. But I know many students with visual impairment just play by ear. So you'd be looking for a teacher that specializes in that. If you're the student yourself, it sounds like you are. If you're the teacher, those are the resources to look for. How can I teach a student to play by ear? That's what you're looking for. And some rote teaching as well, but mostly it would be training them to use their own ears. I don't have a direct link right now, Carrie, but if you just search for technique trainer, you've got the name right. Her name is Jackie Sharp. Jackie Sharp. Okay. Do I have a game for tracking? No, the tracking issue, I should have been clearer on that, Sandra. The tracking issue I'd mostly address with the music. So it is difficult online, because in person, what I would do is see if it gets better when I trace it with a pencil while they're playing. If it does, if that's what makes a big difference, that's probably a tracking issue. However, online, what I would have them do is trace it with their own finger. So they're playing one hand and we trace the music across. If that improves most of the reading issues, it's probably tracking. Okay, thank you all so much once again. It's been a blast. I hope to see you back here next week. I hope to see you on Wonder before that and see you face to face, because I don't often get to see you, like, it's often a one-way conversation and then back in text. So I'm hoping to see you face to face and really connect next week on Wonder. And look out for the email with all the details tomorrow. Bye everyone.